Slay the Princess begins with a simple idea.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
And so the game introduces a moral choice immediately. Will you, as the game's title and narrator, demand slay the princess to save the world? This visual novel from Black Tabby Games opens with a set of choices that allow you to question this premise, or simply be on your way to the cabin where you must make your choice. You can spend quite a while on this path questioning our narrator, but we'll get to that. For now, let's back up to the moment you start the game. This is indeed a horror game, and we will see some violence in this review. I suggest that you consider for yourself if this is the right game for you before continuing. I'll also be covering some spoilers for a few of the game's paths, but I won't provide spoilers for the end game. Put simply, I think you should play this game and get as fresh of an experience as possible. As the game notes, there are no wrong decisions, and, importantly, this is a love story. We have some choices on the title screen, but since this is a visual novel, controls are fairly simple. Advance the story, skip the text, set things to automatically move forward. So instead, take a moment to soak in the atmosphere of this title screen. To me, this screen and the title track are beautiful. The sense of sadness in both this visual of the princess and in the music set me up to think I should not slay the princess. And yet, as we start the game, we see we are in Chapter 1, The Hero and the Princess, and we have our narrator's demand.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
I'm not going to explore every bit of conversation in this review because at that point you should just watch a full Let's Play, and I'd rather you get a taste for things here and try it on your own.
I'm talking about the end of everything as we know it. No more birds, no more trees, and perhaps most problematically of all, no more people. You have to put an end to her. Look, you're already on the path that leads to the cabin. Why would you be here if it weren't to complete a very important task? You've made it this far, you might as well reach the end of your journey. Don't linger on the specifics. You have a job to do here. Just get in there and do what needs to be done. We're all counting on you. Does it? Are you a monarchist? Is slaying a princess that much worse than slaying a fisherman or a miller or a seamstress? If anything, slaying a princess is much better than slaying a seamstress. Seamstresses contribute something of value to society.
I'll be honest, I don't entirely trust this narrator. Played very well by Jonathan Sims, his insistence and vague answers feel off somehow from the beginning, but ultimately, I pressed forward.
Then I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But a word of warning. If you go in prepared to hear her out, she could easily trap you in her web of lies. And the more you listen to her honeyed words, the harder it'll be to pull yourself out. Then each and every one of us is doomed. So sure, go, talk to her. See how that turns out for all of us. You make your way up the short path to the cabin. You'll find the princess within. We're not going to go through with this, right? She's a princess. We're supposed to save princesses, not slay them. Ignore him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The interior of the cabin is almost entirely bare. The air is stale and musty, and the floor and walls are painted in a fine layer of dust. The only furniture of note is a plain wooden table. Perched on that table is a pristine blade. The blade is your implement. You'll need it if you want to do this right.
I decide to take the knife, and the atmosphere changes.
You take the blade from the table. It'd be rather difficult to slay the princess and save the world without it. The door to the basement creaks open, revealing a staircase faintly illuminated by an unseen light in the room below. This is an oppressive place. The air feels heavy and damp, a hint of rot filtering from the ancient wood. If the princess really lives here, slaying her is probably doing her a favor. Her voice carries up the stairs.
Who's there?
She sounds dangerous. It's almost as if she's the one in charge down here. Don't let it fool you. It's all part of the manipulation.
Voiced by Nicole Goodnight, the princess's tone will be dismissive, mocking, unkind. Maybe the narrator's right. Maybe she is dangerous.
Good. You're still listening to reason.
I'll let this scene play out so you get a sense of the flow of this game and the feeling of this scene. So I'll be back with you toward the end of this.
Binding her to the far wall of the basement. She's so coldly beautiful. Is she really a threat to the world? Focus on the task at hand.
And there you are. Are you here to kill me or something? How about you drop the knife and the two of us just talk?
Look how reasonable she's being. We should just drop the blade and talk things out. Don't you dare. It's fine. We can decide what we want to do after we talk to her. Maybe she really is a monster, but killing someone in cold blood isn't very becoming of us. You ignore the trembling in your hands and tighten your grip on the blade.
You poor thing. Your hands are shaking. Are you scared of me? Because you should be.
You step forward, your grip on the blade tightening as you steel your resolve.
I'm probably chained up in this basement for a reason, right? And if that knife is the only weapon you have, you'll have to get close enough to use it. So, you should just drop it. Best not to risk finding out what I can do.
She's unarmed. If you hesitate now, it'll be too late. End this. Doubt, unfortunately, clouds your thoughts as you attempt to run her through. A moment of distraction and hesitation is all she needed to sidestep your thrust and deliver a catastrophic blow to your jaw. It feels like you've been hit with a sledgehammer. You can feel bone grinding on bone where your jaw has been fractured. Holy shit, that hurts! Though she's unarmed, the shock of that first strike is enough to stagger you, putting you and the princess on somewhat equal footing. Your blade slashes through the air again and again, and her fists connect with your body as many times or more, each impact as heavy as that first bone-crushing hit. We can still turn this around. You and the princess stare at each other, both gasping for breath, equally exhausted. You probably won't make it out of here alive, but you can at least make sure that she won't make it out of here either. Excuse me? Do you think this is what I wanted to happen? I have a duty to state the facts of the situation, and honestly, it's a miracle anyone is still standing right now. Can you not feel all those ruptured organs bouncing around in there? If the princess doesn't do our friend in herself, Internal bleeding is certain to finish the job. The two of you clash for the final time. You feel your ribs break as she delivers a heavy blow, but you push through the pain, falling forward and sinking your blade deep into the princess's heart.
Oh,
The two of you fall to the floor.
this was fun.
The princess gasps, her voice an unhealthy rasp as her lungs start to fill with blood.
You put up more of a fight than I thought you would. But I have to wonder, do you really think this is the end?
But you don't have time to worry over such things. Everything goes dark, and you die.
I die, and yet it is now Chapter 2.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
I have many questions, and the interface reflects this.
I can assure you that you're not dead. And to answer your second question, you're here to slay the princess. I literally told you that a second ago. If he doesn't remember what happened, then maybe it's best to keep it that way. You know I can hear you, right? It's going to be a lot harder than you think to keep secrets from me. That's fine. It doesn't matter if he can hear us. The only thing that matters is marching up to that cabin and winning.
I further doubt our narrator, but I also have questions about this new voice of the stubborn. Yet, I'm going to pause here. I did explore this past further, and I enjoyed what I found. You should keep going down whatever path you find yourself on in this game. That's how it's designed. But I want to explore a new path with you today to show you how this visual novel hides complexity under its simple surface. We're in Chapter 1 again, and this time I'll thank the narrator for the information.
You're on a path in the woods. You're here to slay her. Don't mention it. It's all part of the job.
I approach the cabin, and this time I do not take the knife.
The interior of the cabin is almost entirely bare. The blade is your implement.
The music does not change this time, a difference already.
The door to the basement creaks open, revealing a staircase faintly illuminated by an unseen light in the room below. This is an oppressive place. The air feels heavy and damp, a hint of rot filtering from the ancient wood. If the princess really lives here, slaying her is probably doing her a favor. Her voice softly carries up the stairs.
Hello? Is someone there?
It's hypnotizing. It's the kind of voice you only have to hear once to remember it for the rest of your life.
Our hero voice is no longer afraid, more enticed this time, but the narrator still warns us about the princess.
Don't let it fool you. It's all part of the manipulation. You're playing a dangerous game by coming here unarmed.
I decide to take a balanced approach here, continuing silently down the stairs.
Good. You're still listening to reason. It would be better if you had a weapon, but you may still be able to do what needs to be done. You walk down the stairs and lock eyes with the princess. There's a heavy chain around her wrist, binding her to the far wall of the basement. She's beautiful. How could someone like this be a threat to anyone? I am begging you to stay focused. There's a lot riding on you here.
Hi. Do you think you can get me out of these chains?
I remember what happened last time, so I'm going to investigate further.
Okay.
I tell her why I'm here and what I've been told.
Is that why they threw me down here? But I don't want to hurt anyone. I like the world, I think. I don't remember much about it, to be honest. I've been down here for so long.
That's... How long has she been locked away?
Did they tell you how I'm supposed to end the world?
I figure I'll pull this thread a bit further, asking her what she'd do if she were to get out of this basement.
The princess hesitates before responding. She doesn't know. She's been down here too long to have any idea of what she'd do in another life. She knows what she'd do. She's just searching for whatever answer she thinks you want to hear.
What I do doesn't really matter, right? At the end of the day, whatever the two of us have going on down here is about trust. Whoever sent you to slay me claimed I was a threat to the world, but they didn't tell you why. I don't trust that, and I don't think you do either, or you wouldn't have come down here to talk.
She has a point. We're talking like this for a reason.
So this shouldn't be about what I'd do if I got out of here, or me saying the right thing to convince you to save me. This is about how messed up this whole situation is. This is my life we're talking about. Do you really think I can even end the world? Why would I even want to? We both know that if there's people we can't trust in this situation, it's whoever locked me down here, and it's whoever sent you here. And those two groups are probably one and the same.
Don't let her turn the tables here. This isn't about trust. This is about risk. We stand to lose everything, all for the sake of one person, and a subjugating monarch, no less.
Eventually, I decide to find a way to free her.
You're only making this more difficult.
Thank you, and you won't.
The only
promise.
problem is we don't have a key,
making
and
a
these chains are
huge
strong,
mistake.
and we have no tools at all.
You're doing the right
And
thing.
the basement door is
Attempt to make
closed.
your way out of the basement, but the door at the top of the stairs slams shut. You hear the click of a lock sliding into place. Is someone else here? You try the door, but it's locked from the outside. Your shouts and pleas are met with silence. You're here to slay the princess, and you won't leave until the task is done. You make your way to the bottom of the stairs. This would have been so much easier if you'd just taken the blade like you were supposed to. Easier for whom? Easier for everyone. Look at the mess you're in.
I heard the door slam. They locked you down here too, didn't they?
There's a slight panic rising in the princess's voice.
If I could just get out of these chains, I know we could force our way out of here together.
Please note the change in music, and I'll warn you now that this is going to get intense and bloody quite soon, so be prepared. The princess is indeed desperate to get out. And so...
She barely hesitates before raising her arm to her mouth, her teeth tearing through her limb with the determination of a trapped wolf. As she rips her flesh from her bone, a sound comes from behind you, the clang of bouncing metal. It's the blade from upstairs. You're not sure how it made its way down here, but if there's a time to strike, it's now. Or we could use it to free her. You won't like what happens if you do that.
I decide to save the princess. More blood to come.
Fine. Against your better judgment, you place the blade against the ragged, self-inflicted wound on the princess's arm, just above the unyielding chain binding her to this place. You cut into her flesh. The blade is sharp, and it takes little effort to crack through the bone of her arm. Her limb falls to the ground, and the heavy chains follow suit. She didn't so much as utter a sound through the whole ordeal. No, she didn't. She smiles softly as her gaze meets yours, blood from her wounded arm dripping rhythmically to the ground. How is she still smiling after everything? It's like she isn't even bothered by what just happened.
Thank you. Now let's get out of here.
No, we won't have any of that. The stakes are too high. You can't just let her escape into the world. No, I can't just let her escape into the world.
I trust the narrator even less than I ever have now.
As the princess approaches the bottom stair, your body steps forward and raises the blade. Wait, this isn't fair. You can't just do that. Watch me.
What are you doing?
Despite the narrator's warnings, I am committed to saving her now.
Stop that.
Something's come over you, hasn't it? You know you don't have to do this, right?
Your body lunges forward, the blade held low, ready to sink into her heart. But the princess dodges, stumbling back against the wall before the blade has a chance to connect. Stop it! Stop trying to resist me. I'm trying to get you out of here alive. The blade! Move the blade! As your body remains frozen in stubborn resistance, the princess takes a cautious step forward.
We both know this isn't you.
She nervously reaches towards you and takes the blade from your infuriatingly rigid hands. What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I'll try to be quick.
She plunges it into your chest, tearing through flesh and sinew. It is agony. But you aren't dead yet.
Oh no! I'm so sorry.
Stay strong. We can tough it out until it's done. For her sake. For her sake? Don't you start pretending that dying a painful death is some sort of heroic gesture. The two of you have literally doomed everyone. Whatever. She sinks the blade into your chest again and again and again, and you feel every inch of burning pain that slices its way into your body.
I'm sorry.
She doesn't know how to use a knife, does she? Apparently not, though it doesn't matter how sloppy her knife work is, does it? A stab wound is still a stab wound, and it won't be long before you bleed out.
I'm so sorry.
With one last thrust of the knife, your legs give out beneath you. You collapse to the floor, your blood pooling around you, your limbs unresponsive. The princess stares down at your ruined chest as tears carve rivulets of pink down her blood-spattered cheeks. It can't just end like this, right? Oh, that's rich coming from you. As much as I'd prefer for things to have gone differently, I can't deny the reality of what's happened. The two of you made your choice. It's over. Everything goes dark. And you die.
After all of that, this time Chapter 2 has a different title, and I am angry at our narrator. My trust in him is broken after he took control. A new choice reflects this feeling.
That cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world. My tricks? What on earth are you talking about? We just met for the first time. If he doesn't remember what happened, then maybe it's best to keep it that way. Yes, he didn't approve of us last time, did he? If we're going to save our beloved, we'll have to be sneaky about it.
Say hello to the voice of the Smitten. He's great. I think Jonathan Sims did an excellent job with all of the voices, but the Smitten is one of my favorites.
To try and save the princess. So all of the cards are on the table. Then you should know that we and the princess are in love, and the four of us will be foiling any and all assassination attempts you've got in the works. We'll see about that. Whatever you do, just be sure to ignore him specifically. Sounds like he's the sort who'd sacrifice the whole world for a peck on the cheek. What can I say? A world without love is a world that isn't worth saving.
We approach the cabin again, and the interior is different this time.
The interior of the cabin is clean and elegant, its stone walls draped in fine-threaded tapestries, a prison befitting a royal prisoner. The only furniture of note is an ornate wooden table with a pristine blade perched on its edge. The blade is your implement. You'll need it if you want to do this right.
But wait, what about the mirror?
That's because there isn't a mirror. There's a table, the blade sitting on the table, and the door to the basement. There's nothing else in here. There's definitely a mirror. There isn't. I'm sure the princess would tell us there was a mirror if she were up here. In which case she'd be lying to you because, again, there isn't a mirror. You walk up to the wall next to the basement door. It's a wall. There isn't much to see here. This really isn't funny. You reach forward and rub your hand against the cabin wall. I hope you know how ridiculous you look right now. But it was there a second ago, and now it's gone. Pity. We could have a feather out of place, and now we'll never know. We can't gallantly sweep her off her feet if we have a feather out of place.
Putting aside of the mirror for a moment, what was with my hand and arm? There's no time for questions, though. Let's take the blade this time, just in case.
The princess and save the world without a weapon. I suppose if we're to play the role of dashing knight, we need an equally dashing sword. That way she'll know we can defend her from her enemies. Hopefully it doesn't put her on edge, and hopefully it doesn't get turned on us. Again, there's no use arguing over motivations right now. It's good that you took the blade. You'll need it to do your job.
We'll be skipping a bit of the conversation here for the sake of what little speed I can scrounge up from this video. I think it's been quite long already, but I think this game demands this kind of length.
You walk down the stairs and lock eyes with the princess. There's a heavy chain around her wrist, binding her to the far wall. My love, we're here to rescue you from your unjust and foul imprisonment. You know she can't hear you, right? She may not be able to hear my words, but surely she can hear my spirit. Oh, your spirit's plenty loud, all right.
It's you, my dashing hero. I was so worried you wouldn't come back.
Did you hear that? She said we're dashing. And she called us a hero. Flattery really goes a long way with the two of you, doesn't it? Waiting for you to come back. I didn't want to believe your ravings back in the woods, but this is next to incontrovertible evidence. You've been here before. That's right, villain, and you killed us. Well, she killed us. Only because he made us try and kill her. It was self-defense. Our beloved's hands remain unstained by cruelty. And you've died before. So an entire world has been damned to oblivion. I'd really hoped I'd be the first, but what's done is done. What matters is you have a chance to do it right this time. We damned a whole world. But everything reset. Nothing resets. You're just somewhere else. You can't keep hopping between worlds forever. Especially not without leaving a trail of incomprehensible devastation behind you. This is horrible. Horrible for you, maybe.
The narrator does seem genuinely surprised that we've been here before, so I have some concerns now, but at the same time, the Smitten is too great of a voice to deny what he wants. I spend some time talking to the princess, with Nicole Goodnight shifting her voice to adapt to the new situation.
And now I'm even more certain that we must chase our heroic and romantic destiny than I've ever been. I shan't let anyone convince us otherwise. Are you listening to him? He's lost it. Don't let him distract you. Just do your job. If another version of me was pushed to such drastic action, it was for good reason.
That's okay. You were just doing your best, and that's all that matters.
She took that in stride. To a surprising extent. An almost unsettling extent, actually. That's because she's perfect. Do you think she has someone like him telling her what to do? She doesn't. There's no one else like me. I think he's right, because I like it better if she doesn't have some horrid little voice like him, always trying to drive her to violence.
I'm okay with whatever you come up with. You can cut my arm off again.
We won't be laying a finger on her perfect wrists, and indeed, we won't even have to. Do you see how dainty her hands are? We'll be able to slip her right out with no harm done. What? No, she's a prisoner here. You can't just slip her hand through the chains. Why are you two arguing over the logistics of slipping her hand out of her shackles? She just said she'd be okay with any idea we came up with. Am I the only one here who thinks that's weird? She didn't care last time. Why should she care this time? That's our stoic, smiling angel. No, you're right. It's extremely bizarre behaviour and further evidence that she's a monster who's not to be trusted. So go ahead and slay her.
Instead, I decide to free her again.
No, I can't let you do that. If you take another step towards the princess, You'll what? Take over our body and force us to try and kill her? Yes. Not on my watch, villain. My passions contain titanic depths, and if you try anything that might harm our dearest, I will end our life without a second thought. You wouldn't. I would. I'd listen to him if I were you. He has a lot of strong feelings, and doesn't the world end if we don't stop her? You approach the princess and gingerly slide her hand from her bindings. That shouldn't have worked. I'll be damned. We're doomed. I can't believe it. But I guess I have to. I told you. There's no life more worth living than that of a true believer.
I'm free, and you're not trying to kill me this time. Thank you. Thank you so much.
The princess jumps up and smothers you in a joyful embrace. Ugh.
Skipping some conversation again for the sake of brevity, I'll add I love where this goes. The smitten and the princess are overjoyed, the narrator is disgusted, the hero is just along for the ride. But there's something else coming
I'm
soon.
about to see the end of the world. I'd rather not see it sober.
That's the way out. We're going to leave together, just like you wanted.
Yes, I suppose you are going to do that, aren't you? You cross the room, opening the door to the cabin, and then you step outside. A happy ending at last.
We did it. What should we do now?
Where did everything go? Where did he go? Oh, is he gone? I hadn't noticed. I was too busy staring deep into our beloved's eyes.
I'm cold. Is being happy supposed to be so cold?
She's cold. Quick, our feathers. Pluck them all and weave her a coat worthy of a princess.
But that scene isn't for us today. No, you should experience it yourself. Chances are you have some questions right now, like I did when I first saw this. What happened to the narrator? What will happen to the princess? Why, when we see our hands, are they monsters? What did the smitten mean when he said, pluck our feathers to make a coat? And what is with the mirror? These are all questions you should explore by playing this game. The music and the art are an immediate draw, but more than that, the narration and the flow of the story are exceptional. It's a simple game. It's a horror game and a love story, but it's also so much more than I expected. You should play Slay the Princess, because I keep finding myself back at the beginning.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
Thank you so much for watching this review. This was a long one for me, and it's the first time I've done one of these. I was captivated by this game, and I hope you enjoy it if you play it. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.